everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Unraveled and Rising podcast. I'm Michelle, and of course, Terry's here. Yay!
Good morning.
Terry, Kim and I recorded earlier this week, and Terry wasn't available, and we really wanted to do another episode this week to record because it's right after Mother's Day, 2026, and Terry had similar experiences that Kimberly and I did as far as kind of the weekend in general. And I even mentioned you a little bit, Terry, on the last episode about, Terry's expressed some similar things going on. And so I didn't share details, obviously, but I just mentioned that you were also experiencing something. And several of Kimberly's friends that she's spoken to recently have also experienced something over Mother's Day weekend. And so this seems like a common theme that who knew this many women were going through stuff. But before we get started, I watched this podcast on YouTube, and it's a girl that's remodeling an old store for her home in somewhere on the East Coast. And at the beginning of every episode, she cheers her mom in heaven who passed away 3 years ago. So I'm going to do that with my mom. I know she does it every episode. So cheers to my mom, my heavenly mother, Cheryl was her name, who's in heaven right now. Just want to cheers her before we get started.
Yes. Cheers.
I would love
Cheers
it,
to your
Terry.
mom.
Yes. I would love to hear a little bit about your experience because I know that other women out there are having these exact same things happening in their lives. And we have, it's an ebb and flow, right? In life, there's some highs and lows. And even if you're focusing on mindset and trying to, you're on a personal growth journey like I and Terry, I and Kimberly are, we still have moments where our old paradigms and things are kicking in, or old patterns of behavior or old thinking kind of kicks in, and that's okay. It's going to happen for the rest of our lives, but the key is the awareness around it and how we recover from that and how long it takes to recover versus how long it took a while ago. So I just wanted to share your experience, what you're kind of feeling.
Well, I had a crazy experience at the beginning of the week. But Mother's Day was great. I got to spend it with my kids, but it was really interesting because we went to eat lunch. And we got to the restaurant where there was like an hour and a half wait. And we had just been in the sun watching my grandson play baseball. And rather than wait an hour and a half, because my grandkids were there, I was like, she's like, well, they're seating out on the patio or they're seating in the bar area. But the bar area had pretty decent sized tables. Like there was 6 tops and like decent sized tables that I was like, I saw this table that had 6 chairs on it. And I was like, oh, I put my name on the list and then I just went and grabbed that table. Well, I thought that the table right next to me, it looked like they were getting ready to leave. And they weren't, but there was another one just a little ways away. And I kind of grabbed it so that we could both sit there. And then I thought, oh, well, the other one leaves. I'll just grab that one and we'll switch, right? Well, my son and daughter-in-law and my grandkids went and sat at the other table. And I don't know. What came up for me was that I felt like you just start feeling like you're not getting that attention. And then I felt like, and then I realized I was back in that pattern, but I also want to say something to patterns is that a lot of this stuff comes from childhood experiences. And so I was not feeling like I was getting the attention. And that's how I felt that's how I felt as a child. That there was a lot of times where I wasn't getting attention. And so I realized that this was just programming from when I was a child, and it was coming back up and it was poking the little girl in me. And so, but I did, interestingly enough, try to go back into that. I wanted to make everyone happy, right? So when the little girl is feeling like I'm not getting attention, I don't feel loved, I don't really feel like I'm worthy, what do I do? And so a way of coping for me was, well, I'm just going to try to manipulate situations and try to get the need met that I needed. And so I felt myself going in and trying to figure out how I could get all of us together. And so, and then when I wasn't doing it right, then all of that just starts to spiral. because now you're not doing it right. Something's wrong with you. And so I had to like finally just stop it. And I had to just realize where it was coming from. And then I had to do the reframe. We talk about the reframe. And I had to just say, my son has his wife and children. It's her Mother's Day. It's her Mother's Day too. You know what I mean? And like me wanting to have, yeah. And so I had to really, and that is what happens. Like when I realize that I'm acting from this place, behaving from this place of early childhood things, I really go into being really absorbed with myself.
Yeah.
And making it about me. And so that's what I realized I was doing in that moment. And so the cool thing is that not shortly after they called us for a table, and the waitress was really, she had already taken our order when we went down, and we ended up sitting together. So we ended up actually eating together.
Yeah.
And it all turned out fine. And I don't know, did that experience just happen to show me that? You know what I mean? But it did. I found myself in that moment for probably the first half hour, allowing it to really kind of take away my that positive energy that I had that morning. And so, and that happens, right? That happens to all of us. I think as we're in our journey of growth, I think it's realizing where it's coming from. And so I really felt like I knew where that was coming from, and that it wasn't about my kids or about anything else. It was really a part of me that had experienced something early on, and it was still playing out.
Yeah.
But my experience on Wednesday, kind of the same thing. I was supposed to be part of this program, and they were supposed to have this opportunity call that morning. And I couldn't find the link. The week before, they expressed how the schedule change was going to change. And so I was freaking out like I was, and I just didn't understand, like, where is this coming from? It took me a while to really understand where that was coming from. But immediately I felt like, you're doing something wrong. You screwed it up. You didn't find the link. You're going to miss out. All this stuff started coming into my mind, and I was spiraling. I was supposed to meet with you, Michelle, that morning, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I was just like, I was allowing myself to spiral for probably most of the morning.
Yeah. I get it. And you had Dr. Ed too. Did you have a call with Dr. Ed?
I did. And so and that helped me. Like I did all the thing. And here's the thing, right? So I had the call with my coach that morning, and we were walking through this, and he asked me, everything's going to be okay, right? You're going to get the information. And I'm like, yes. Yes, I am. You know what I mean? But then when he started telling me, what could you have done? You know, like being more resourceful. And I said, well, I sent a message to this woman who leads the group and manages all of that stuff. And he said to me, why didn't you say that you did that? And so what I realized in that moment is that I actually was doing the only things that I could do, but I was still finding a way not to give me credit for that. And I was still more focused on what wasn't happening rather than the things that I was doing to, I don't know. It was just really bizarre.
Was your call supposed to be before our mastermind group or after?
No, it was right after. So right at the end, it starts at 9. So when I said that I was leaving, I was jumping on that call, and I went to the email. I went to the platform that it's on, and there was no link. And then while I was on the call with my coach, I get an email from Lacey who says, Terry, responding to my message that I sent. and she said that the schedule was changed. And I knew the schedule was changed because we had our normal scheduled call on Monday, but I thought it was for this opportunity call for this program they're putting together for healthcare practitioners. And it's a new program. And so it was for the alumni group already. And so I completely read the email wrong. So I wouldn't have even had the link to that call.
Yes.
And so I was freaking out for something that wasn't even necessary to freak out about. But aside from freaking out was the self-talk that was going on.
Yeah.
Was that you screwed it up, you're gonna miss out, all this. And I realized that when something is so firm like that, like you're gonna miss out. Now you blew it. Now you don't have a chance. That should be my clue that, oh, okay, that's that part of me talking again.
Yeah.
Because that's not the truth. Things are not it's not absolute. Anything that's absolute is that part of me that I've just got to recognize when that part of me shows up.
Yes. And just so you know, I could really tell on the mastermind call that something was up with you.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Because it was after the mastermind.
Your body language and just the way your face was, it looked like something was definitely going on in your head. And even when you had because on our mastermind, you guys, on Wednesday mornings, we each get a time to speak. And when you spoke and Dr. Ed was trying to work with you, you were really short and like not wanting to hear it. And I it's not funny at all because you and I are so similar, Terry. So I am not at all making this funny, but it's like, Dr. Ed even said, "Great job, Terry." And he just kind of cut it off because there's no way he was going to try to confront, try to come. He could tell that you were in a state that was, I don't want to hear this right now. I got, what I mean? I got a lot of stuff going on. And he stopped it and he goes, "Great job, Terry. Well, thank you," and all that. And he kind of moved on. And I thought that was interesting because I could immediately tell when you got on the call that something was up.
And that's crazy because that was before that. That's before all this happened.
But you were probably thinking about it during the mastermind call, thinking, I got to get on this call at 9 and, whatever it is. But either way, I could tell something was going on. Because
and then I was very short.
Your energy is normally very, smiley and loving and caring. That is your normal energy. And you did not have that energy on Wednesday morning. And I think it's good that we recognize that about each other because, I'm going to Denver next week and we're going to do, and next Friday I'm driving to Denver. And then the next following Wednesday, we're going to do a full day of podcast recording. And I think because the three of us see each other so much that when we can recognize the other person struggling, I think it's important to know that about each other so that we can go, "Hey, what's going on?" Even my friend Molly that I walk with every day, she can tell when my energy's off. She'll be like, "Hey, is everything okay today?" You know what I mean? Because she could just feel it.
And sometimes I think as friends, that is a great thing for us to do.
Yeah.
Because we as humans, I want to say humans, not just me, but all of us tend to want to isolate when things like that happen.
Yeah.
We want to go inward. And to me, that is just like, for me, that is like a recipe for disaster. Because then I just, get in my own head. And when you realize what's going on in your brain, like your physiology, like your front part of your brain actually shuts down. And so the worst place for you to go is to be by yourself because you're not thinking correctly. And you can actually say thoughts.
When Molly asked me to walk, because it's all different times of the day, I just say yes.
Yeah.
I'm busy and I'm usually right in the middle of a project and my mind's like, I got to get this project done, but I just say yes. And I just put my shoes on and I go outside because I need that time to, just have a conversation with somebody and to talk to somebody. So I do that. But I find it interesting that all three of us were kind of dealing with stuff this week. It's so interesting to know how that happens.
Well, and then on my call, I was very defensive with Dr. Ed.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it continued. And and looking back, what I realized, now that my brain is working and I'm not shut down in that first part of my brain and I can actually think, um, I was actually, it was completely coming from my past, because then I was thinking, then I went into defensive mode. I became defensive, and then I felt like I needed to defend, right? So
Yeah.
I needed to find excuses for why I was behaving the way I was as well. So trying to prove something, because realizing where that's coming from though is so important,
It is, and I
because then
love
I
that you
think we
said
can be.
that because I used to be really defensive with Dr. Ed too on our one-on-one calls. Not every time, but when you start getting challenged and our natural, especially with, I don't know, not everybody's like that, but for me, my natural response is to put the walls up and go, look, stop
Yes.
messing with me, to be defensive and to try to defend myself and go into survival mode. That is so natural to me that even when somebody's coming from a loving place, you still do it.
Well, and our brain doesn't realize it. That's the thing, is
Yeah.
our brain is our brain love it. There's a part of us that loves us so much that it's going to do everything it can to protect you. And when there was early experiences that were hurtful for us, it literally scans the environment for anything that would resemble that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't realize that, oh, this isn't happening. This it can't differentiate the time frame. So all it thinks is this is happening again, and I've got to do whatever I can to defend.
Yeah. And I
And
think,
so it's less about the situation in the present moment and the person that it's happening with, and it's more about, okay, what has happened with in the past that has created this response or this reaction in me.
and now what I do, because it still happens for me. So now what I do is I have the awareness around the fact that when somebody comes at me, I immediately have a feeling of defensiveness
Yep.
or anger or irritation or whatever. I recognize it and I don't
Yep.
respond right away. If it's somebody that sends me an email or a text message that's not so nice, or I'm reading it that way, I
Yep.
don't respond right away. I just take a break. I try very hard because I still can go into that place.
All of us can.
Yeah. And so
All of us do.
that's just
And
that's
actually, that's a great thing to do, is just put the phone down
yeah.
and come back after you get through that response. After that response works its way through your body and you just kind of work through that, come back and I guarantee you read the email or the text and it sounds completely different than what you originally
Yeah.
read.
Because most text messages and emails are read negatively. They're not written that way or they're not necessarily typed in that way, but that's what most of us do is read them negatively. So the intention of the person on the other
Well,
end may not have been that way at all.
yeah, we read it through our experiences.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. And we all do that.
We do. That's
We
why I
all do
overuse
that.
emojis. I'm always like, so I type something, then I put a happy face or a smiley face because I'm like, I
Yeah.
want them to know that this is not negative. This is a positive text message. You just
Yeah.
never know. But I find that interesting. There's others of you out there that have had a similar experience this week. We would love if you comment and describe what you went through or describe what happened or describe how you're feeling because I think there's so many of us. And it's not just women. We talk a lot about women here because that tends to be our demographic, but men are going through this too. This is not just a
Yes.
female experience.
No.
But
It's a human experience.
it's a human experience.
It is.
And then, I even sent my son a text message. I'm like, I'm not gonna get upset at all. It's not, he's not doing anything intentionally. I am taking it a certain way. So it is not, he's not a bad person, he's not a bad kid, he's not a bad, none of that. So I worked my way through it on Monday, and then I sent him a text message on Tuesday, and I said, "Hey, give me a call this week. I'd love to talk to you." Well, it's Friday. Haven't heard from him. So it's like, you just gotta go through I'll see him next week because his birthday's coming up. So his birthday is on the 25th of May, his 30th birthday. So I'll see him next weekend. And I thought, it is what it is. And I'm gonna
Well,
just
and my kids and I, we all have a really good relationship.
yeah,
I love my boys. My daughter-in-law is my grandkids, but I think my boys are not very they're just not like that. Like
Yeah.
they all called me and wished me happy Mother's Day, gave me a hug, whatever. But it's I just think sometimes men are not as emotional as women.
Yeah.
And so what we expect is not what they understand to give.
Yes.
Right? And then the other thing is my boys didn't always see that modeled. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that when I have to do this whole, not that it's not affecting me, you know what I mean? Because there are times that it's affecting me, but the thing is, thank God for my own journey and the journey that I've gone through to realize, okay, what is happening here? And in the things that I teach, I really tell people to pay attention to their body, like what is going on inside right now that is happening, and actually getting that settled down first, because it's more about what's going on the inside. And when I can get that settled down, then I can go back and really like look at this situation. And usually it's related to something that I'm making a story about.
Yeah.
And it's hurtful because those experiences that it relates to were painful for me in the past.
Yes.
But you're right. Our kids are not meaning anything intentional
No.
at all.
Yes. So I get that too. And I worked through a lot of this when I was after I started my personal growth journey. I worked through a lot of with my son already because, his dad has been the one that he wants to go do stuff with and things like that. And I'm the one that he calls when he needs something like help me with my taxes or whatever. And I had a really hard time with that at the beginning because I'm like, he doesn't want to hang out with me. He doesn't, and all this. And it's like, I said to myself, you know what, Michelle, you did such a good job because he's going to call you if he needs you. He doesn't need you that often. He's very independent and self-reliant and can do his own thing. Takes care of himself very well, saves money, has, really good at saving money and blah, blah, blah. And so I said, he calls me when he needs me. And I feel like I'm honoring this myself with the job that I did, that I raised a child who, God forbid, doesn't
Yeah,
live with me at 30 years old. Thank the Lord for that one. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of kids out there who still live with their parents because they struggle. And I'm not cutting on people that live with their parents. I'm not cutting on that. I'm just saying I have family. I know I have friends whose kids still live with them because they struggle to
be
cope,
responsible.
cope with the
Okay.
just daily life stuff. And
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have gratitude for my son who, had his own struggles when he was a kid, but really is very independent and takes good
very
care of himself and is
self-sufficient.
very responsible. And
Mhm.
I'm honoring that versus worrying about, how much he has to come talk to me.
And
So
that's a really good shift that anyone can do.
yeah,
When you can get yourself on that side of it, it feels better, right? It's
yeah,
like, wow. And sometimes that's exactly what you have to do, is just walk yourself through this. And almost, I always say, coach yourself, right? What's going on? For me, it's really paying attention to what's going in the body.
yeah,
And I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it because it's great growth opportunities for us, but so many times my greatest mirror for me are my kids.
and they're doing pretty dang
And
good.
they
So it
are the
sounds like
ones,
you did a pretty
yeah.
good job, Terry.
Well, and they are the ones sometimes that, man, I can just go back to, oh my gosh, I thought that I had worked through this and had overcome it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and then sometimes they'll be the first ones to say, "Oh, I thought that you grew a lot. I thought that you've grown from this." And then that just is like a whole nother.
Oh, I love it.
So I just can't even, I know where it's gonna go if I allow that to. So I really have to just keep my mouth closed, where I did not used to do that. I used to express how I was feeling and just create so much stuff. And now sometimes internally I'm going through it within myself. And then I usually get through it. But it's a very much internal
Yeah.
process. It's never outward. It's always within me.
Yes, absolutely. Love that. Thanks for sharing that, Terry. I think it's important for all of us to hear that kind of stuff because I feel like, you're out there doing the good work, working with women, trying to help them with stuff. And we still, as as an educator yourself and somebody who's a coach, you still have the
You
moments.
still do.
You still have the
I tell the
moments.
women that. I
Yeah.
tell them, I said, I do not have it figured out.
Yeah.
I'm still working through this journey. What I do have is I've asked for help. I've had mentors, I've had coaches, and I've done the inner work.
Yeah.
And I just have a toolbox of things that I can turn to, right? And so do you, Michelle.
Yep.
I just have tools that I can pull out, and they're different at different times, but it does not mean that I don't have behavior sometimes that I feel, and I have to go back and remind myself, don't be ashamed, because shame was a big deal for me. Don't be ashamed and beat yourself up, because I'm really good at bringing the palette out and just like a whipping post, right? When
Yeah.
it comes to me, and I've learned how to have more compassion for myself and just and understand where it's coming from. And I think that's why it's so important to do this work, because then you're less you do that so much less, and you actually have compassion for that side of you, of where that is coming from and what happened to create some of those behaviors that were automatic.
And also you stay there less. You stay
Yes,
there, you recover faster. And
a
that's the
hundred
key, you
percent.
recover. Because I used to be, sometimes I could stay in it for a week back in the day. I could be down for an entire week. It would take me out for a week, and I had to just fake it for a week in front of other people because I didn't want
Yeah.
to anybody to know that I was struggling because I was ashamed of it, just like you talked about. So I would have to fake it for a week, and that's the most horrible feeling ever, to have to fake it to get through the day. That's the worst thing. I do not wish that on anybody because it's horrible to feel that way. And I'll never remember
Well,
this.
and
Is
then,
if
and
they
then I
they
think we
still
think,
know something's up. They still
I
know
was just
something's
going
up.
to say that.
They just don't know
I
what
was
it
just going
is.
to say that.
Yeah.
That we think we're faking it, but there's an energy that people feel, and they know,
Yeah.
they may not know what it is, but they know something's going on.
And I think I've shared this story before. I was at a women's event here in Dallas, and this is a couple years ago, and I was not having a good day. But I said, Michelle, you've already signed up for this thing. You got to go. Put your happy face on and walk out the door and act like everything's okay. So that's what I did. And afterwards, they have what they call a glow. So it's the meeting's at 11 o'clock. We go through lunch. It's a couple of hours, and then at 1 o'clock, a lot of the women go to the bar and have a glass of wine or whatever, and just fellowship or whatever. And I'm sitting at a table, and this girl from across the room comes over to me, and she goes, "You look like you need a hug. Can I give you a hug?" And so she could see me from across the room, and
Yep.
she could tell that something was going on with me.
Yes.
And I said, "Do I?" And she goes, "Yes." And so she gave me a hug, and I was actually embarrassed about it, that I was so bad at faking it that some girl had to come over and give me a hug. But on the other hand, it was so sweet of her to do that. And it was so nice of her to recognize that somebody needs a hug. And I never forgot that because I just thought that's so interesting.
Well, it really speaks to how much energy is just such a big thing.
It is.
Like, you may not know what's going on. Like, there's times where judgment comes up in my mind, and I feel bad because I feel like I'm judging someone. But sometimes what I've learned is, I think sometimes I'm just picking up on what's going on with them. And sometimes people are judging themselves, and you put it off on you, but you don't know what's going on with other people. And so,
So true.
huh?
So true.
Yeah. And so, just being compassionate, and just like what she did, going up to someone and giving them a hug, and just recognizing that.
Yes.
I think that's huge.
And Terry's got a new program too. We're going to talk about it on our next episode, about her new program, which can be helpful to folks who just don't have a support system or need a support system. Because again, all of us have had coaches, all of us have had mentors, all of us still do that because we're still
Mhm.
on our personal growth journey and will be for the rest of our lives. And so if
Mhm.
you need just to have a foundation to start somewhere, Terry will talk about our program next week. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the show notes for this episode, just so in case you're interested before the next recording, you can go take a look at it. But she does such an amazing job. And whenever as long if you know Terry, and you just get shocked when she has any moments of feeling down about herself or whatever, because I've never seen anybody more hardworking and more dedicated and inspired on helping others than Terry. And sometimes when she says like she's going to take another program or do something, I'm like, how in the heck do you have enough hours in the day to do all this, girl? Because she's also a practicing nurse. It's not like she's just sitting on her computer coaching people. She's got other commitments as well. And she's got all these kids and grandkids and all this stuff. I mean, she's got a lot going on, and her mom lives with her.
Yeah.
She's taking care of her mom. And so it's like nobody more hardworking than Terry, as far as I'm concerned. So giving herself some grace when she's having these moments is important. But if you're interested in her program, you click on the link in the show notes, and we'll talk about it more in depth next time. But thanks again.
And it's going really well. It's been we've done our second live call last night or Wednesday night, and just to see some of the aha moments. Yeah. And just one of the ladies just said, I was losing hope. She said, and what you have just taught me in 2 weeks. She said she felt like she had hope again. And and I had to resist the urge to go, because that voice started coming back in and said, see, you were taking so long to do this, that people really needed this, and you were taking your sweet time. And so and I just had to say, it launched, and I'm doing it, and the time that it did was the exact time that it needed to happen.
Yeah.
And to realize that it's meeting women exactly where they are, it just overfills my cup, man. It's so cool. Just
so cool. I need to get involved in it too. I have several ladies that I'm going to send your direction. I've sent a couple so far. Sometimes they're just scared to take the first step too, which is very normal. It's uncomfortable because you have to talk about yourself and your feelings. You're like, I don't want to do that, but I
really encourage the women that, really encouraging them to take their time, go at their pace, but at the same time, pay attention to what their body's doing. And helping them to navigate that, but then also what we do is we're also learning how to regulate ourselves, and we're doing that together. And so we do it before every single call.
The feeling of uncomfortableness is the way you're doing something right. Taking a leap off the cliff and it feels uncomfortable means there's going to be a journey and a reward at the end, or moments that you got, God, I'm so glad I did this. So that uncomfortableness that's telling you that this is the right thing to do. So just jump off the cliff.
And bypassing it and trying to go around all the time is just perpetuating the patterns.
It is.
And so it's going through, and it's not comfortable, but it is possible. And healing is possible, but you do heal in community. We can't heal by ourselves. And so it is actually beginning to trust yourself too, and actually putting you first. Sometimes us as women have a hard time putting us first.
But
what we don't realize is when we put ourselves first and we do that work for ourselves, it actually benefits every single relationship in our life.
Everything around us. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Well, thank you, Terry, for sharing this today. I really appreciate it. And well, again, we'll learn about her program the next time, but thank you guys. Again, if this is something that resonates with you, or you're having a similar experience, please comment, please like and subscribe, and please share it out to others that you think might be interested. That's important to us. We appreciate you, and thanks for coming back. Or if this is your first time, thanks for coming and checking us out. Again, her program is in the show notes, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.